Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. This is your host, Scotty B. Friends, you can click on the links in the description below. You can like, comment, and subscribe, all the fun things that you do with YouTube channels, and to support us as the safe space for the sharing of ideas inside of cosplay and to bring to light the stories of the cosplayers. You know, I haven't said that in a while. The podcast coming out is going to talk about something called Do Less and Do More of It, which is a bit of a probably takes a little bit more explanation than what I can give you in the YouTube video. The YouTube video is always a little bit of a summary and goes in a little bit of a different direction than do the podcasts that come out earlier in the week. And I do have a lot of fun making those and recording them, which is the whole point. But the other part of the whole point is that you need to do less. And you need to do less more often. I've talked about the productivity traps in earlier episodes this season. Keeping busy isn't the answer. I am batching content. I am batching a lot of the shows that I'm creating, batching the editing, spending less time on what I do in this space because there's not a lot of return. We're spending a lot of time scrolling through everything. And what you want to call that, if you call that research or if you call that just wasting time, which is what I call it, there's really no reason to spend a lot of time scrolling unless you want to. But the problem with that is you get into a comparison trap and you start to look at what you should be doing and you look at what everybody else is doing. And though social media is great to keep up with people and to reach out to them, it is a tool and it can be very draining at times to look at what everybody else is doing, to see all of the amazing things that they get up to, all of the premieres that they go to, all of the cosplays that they create, anything and anyone that you follow, and all of the just amazing things that they do that you don't feel that you could possibly ever create yourself, which isn't true, but that doing less can help you a lot. You just need to consolidate it. And then you know what? Some people have more time than you do to do things. All they do is create content. They are content creators. That's the thing now. And those people have way more time than you do all day. They can get up late. They can spend 4 hours in front of a camera and they can answer a few messages on their phone. And it makes it seem like they spent 12 hours a day doing all of this work, when in fact they worked less hours than you did at your job. And then you tried to come home to compete with them and you spent another 4 or 5 hours just every night that week trying to create something because you thought that's what everybody else was doing. And in reality, they don't. They spend a minimal amount of time creating. They set up blocks of time where no one bothers them. And they create and they film and they go through the whole process. And then they outsource a lot. They outsource a lot of it themselves. If you're not outsourcing a lot, then probably, at scale, I don't need to. There are things that I will outsource this season. There are things that I won't because I'm not too concerned about adding all of the flash. That's not the point of Here's a Cosplay. It's a podcast. It's not designed to be more than just a forum for cosplayers. So I don't need to put all of the flash into everything. And I don't need to create all the cosplays because I spend a lot of my energy making the show. And the show is about cosplay, but it doesn't have a lot of me doing cosplay, which is fine. I've found that it isn't my strength as time has gone on. And yes, I will eventually get something finished and I will eventually go back to a convention, but it's going to be a while, and that's okay. Because I'm going to do less and I'm going to do that more often. I'm just going to enjoy what I have for my free time because I spend a lot of time in a productivity trap. And I will tell you, this happens a lot at work and it can happen a lot with a hobby. The more boxes you tick equals more validation. The more things I got done today, the more I was able to check off all this stuff on a list, the better I feel about getting through things. But am I just making a list to check off boxes on a list? Or are there actually things getting done? Did I need to do all that work? What's the justification for having more things to do? Your time, everybody's time, is the most precious resource we have. Without it, we can't gain more resources. So the more time that you spend taking yourself away from things that maybe don't take quite so much time to do, but that you're just using those things to fill a productivity gap, well, you're running out of time. You're using all of it. and you're probably not having that much fun if what you're doing is just time consuming and soul sucking. If it gets to be too much of a job to do whatever it is that you're doing, whether it is your actual job or whether it is cosplay, that you are going to spend, or maybe they're both the same thing, you're going to just feel drained. You're going to feel like you're not ever doing enough. You're going to feel like you're not enough. This isn't a good space to be if you're trying to be creative and create costumes and design art and give it to everyone else. I mean, you're sharing it for a reason. You're sharing it to share it with your audience, with your followers, with your friends. Not with me necessarily, like I'm just a guy on a show, but I do love to have the cosplayers on, not because it promotes the show necessarily. I have to do that on my own and I have to get better at that, but that it showcases what they have worked on and how they've worked on it and all the work that goes into cosplay, because I think that some people think that it's a little easier than it is. It's not. So strangely as it may sound, one thing that you may try is to do cosplay less. And I've had guests on the show who really only do it once a week. They do all of their content one day a week. They create all the TikToks, they create all the videos, all the posts, everything, and they just set it up and it fires off during the week. And that's it. One day, they get it all done on a Saturday or a Thursday or whatever the case is. 4 hours. They've got everything they're going to do for that week. It's all done. And they don't worry about it. It's fire and forget. And that you can do it that way, but you have to pick your battles and you have to focus your time. But you have to do it from a relaxed space. If you're always anxious about it, it's not going to happen. You're going to feel bad about it. So relax about what kind of content you want to do. Think about it. Think about what's possible for the time you have. Think about how much time you really need to spend on that. And eventually you will get better at it, so it won't take up so much time. But that you don't need to fill in that time. You don't need to make more. You don't need to add more. You don't need to say, oh, well, I only did 3. I could do 6 because I have twice as much time. You don't have to. It's what you want to get out of it. But what's the end goal? What are you actually doing with it? That's the real thing that I want you to think about as you're going through all of this stuff. Never feel like you have to do it. Okay? It's a hobby. Never feel like you have to do it. You don't have to market yourself like that. That isn't like a requirement of living. You don't have to get up every day and say, I have to turn on a camera because I have to be in front of an audience and they have to know what I'm doing 24/7. No, they don't. It doesn't matter. And you don't have to post every day and you don't have to post every week and you don't have to post. It's not important to do that for strangers. It's not important even to do that for money. What is important is that you have a routine that works for you, and that you have a way of managing that, and that you don't feel like you have to do more, but instead accept that you can do less and get just as much out of all of that. And that's what I have for you today, folks. Thank you so much again for being here. This is Scotty B with the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary saying bye-bye, everybody.